Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Hard Knocks. Hey, all, hey, welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
Hello, I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything. TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even NFL players getting their dreams crushed. Oh no.
R.I.P.
We love to watch, and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
Hard Knocks. Woo, 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 woo. Football. And the start of the 2024 NFL season.
Yes, and before we get into it, PSA, y'all, make sure you're giving Sisters Who Watch 5 stars wherever you listen. 5 stars, please. Rate, download, and subscribe to all of our channels wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank y'all.
Yes, we appreciate y'all so much. And let's dive in, as always, with the logline of the show we're reviewing. Behind the scenes access to the Chicago Bears training camp follows GM Ryan Poles, coach Matt Eberflus, and players like Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Jalen Johnson, and Montez Sweat. All about the Chicago Bears, right? An iconic franchise. And Hard Knocks is a pretty famous HBO docuseries that started in 2001 that's been narrated by the actor Liev Schreiber. And we actually have reviewed Hard Knocks in the past, so check out our episode from last year on Hard Knocks New York Jets and the 2023 NFL season kickoff. It's a goodie. And of course, you know, the NFL season is in its 105th season, which is pretty crazy. I think 105 years this has existed. So there's a lot of anticipation. You know, Laura, what were you feeling coming in to Hard Knocks and the NFL season?
I feel like I was really plugged in and excited about the Jets Hard Knocks, as a lot of people. Is one of the most highly viewed and rated seasons of Hard Knocks of all time, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we were coming with high expectations after a really highly anticipated last season of Hard Knocks. So honestly, I didn't have many expectations coming in. I don't know a whole lot about the Bears. But Shelby was like, you gotta watch it. And our family also was enjoying it. So I was like, okay. And plus I heard Simone Biles was featured in it. So I was like, okay, I guess we're here. I guess we're watching.
Queen Simone. Hard Knocks, I think this season was anticipated because, right, Caleb Williams, the number one pick in the draft from USC. He's like a top quarterback prospect. Everyone was saying he's going to change the Bears. He's going to be the savior for the franchise.
Yeah.
The Bears haven't had a good quarterback in its entire existence. Like, there was so much hype and anticipation. I was curious to see how, like, a very iconic franchise would be seen, especially with a polarizing new quarterback coming in.
Yes. Why was he polarizing?
Well, I don't know if you've heard this, but he can come off, I guess, a little feminine. And, you know, the rah macho men of the NFL don't like that he wears nail polish and uses purses. Like a lot of, I think, Gen Z men, like Harry Styles-esque, they're a lot more, you know,
in tune with their femininity. Yeah.
And I think that's very, like, anti-NFL. You know?
Anti-toxic masculinity, yeah.
So there were a lot of people commenting on that. So that's kind of the polarization I was hearing.
Huh.
You hadn't heard that?
No, not at all. And they didn't talk about it on the show, right? I watched the whole thing. They didn't really talk about his style. So that's why I'm surprised hearing about that.
Twitter and, you know, of course, the, like, macho men, like, were tweeting.
This is football.
Yeah, they were men. Like, why are his nails polished? And what kind of purse did he have in that meeting with his coach? What kind of bag is that? That's not manly. So even though it wasn't mentioned in the show, people were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that people have said, like, how can he lead a locker room if that's how he dresses, that's how he acts? Yes.
Yikes.
I know.
Yikes.
Very toxic.
Well, none of the other quarterbacks have been able to do it, and they haven't worn purses or nail polish, so maybe, you know, that's what we need. Maybe that's what the Bears need.
Maybe that will change the Chicago Bears for the good, for the better.
Yeah. I didn't know about him. Well, that's cool. You know, bringing some unique perspective to NFL, maybe open people's minds, make them less toxic,
And it's one of those things, like, I remember Justin Fields, who's the quarterback before the Bears.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, he's a vegan. How is he going to handle being in the NFL? Like, people always find something to, like, comment on about players. They look for critiques. So
That's actually really funny. I didn't know that about Justin Fields. How can he play football if he's a vegan? Whole milk and steak. Oh gosh, did not know that.
I don't know if he's still a vegan, but at least when he joined the NFL, he was. And
that's so funny.
There's a lot of commentary on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, people find things to comment on when they,
of course,
seem anti-macho men. Ooh.
Interesting. What other expectations did you have for, like, the broader season, not just the Bears?
Yes, well, sadly, the Chiefs are coming off back-to-back Super Bowls, and everyone's been talking about, are they going to three-peat? No one's ever done that in the history of the NFL. Not even the Patriots. So I'm praying to God that does not happen.
I'm right with you. Right with you.
A lot of people have been talking about them. I'd say another theme coming into the season was a lot of star players moving on to new teams. We had Russell Wilson leaving the Denver Broncos and going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields as well, leaving Chicago and going to Pittsburgh. Stephon Diggs leaving the Bills and going to the Texans. And of course, a big one, Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants and going to the division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, which was highlighted on Hard Knocks offseason with the New York Giants. Did you watch that?
No. How was that?
It was fine. It was honestly interesting because it showed more about, like, the GM and the business and the draft and the decisions of, like, player personnel and how you craft a team from that POV. So it was interesting for that. But there's this really embarrassing scene that has been trending because the Giants basically decided not to pay Saquon Barkley. And the owner is like, I'm gonna really hate this and feel bad if Saquon goes to the Eagles. That's literally a soundbite. And then he leaves the Giants and signs with the Eagles because they were going to pay him more money. So embarrassing.
And look at him now. Saquon's going off.
Rushing it.
Going off.
So that's been a big storyline already because he's doing really well for the Eagles. The Giants have looked like a dumpster fire.
Embarrassing.
Really embarrassing. Something else that people were talking about was, of course, certain high-profile players returning from injury. Like Kirk Cousins, who tore his Achilles last year. He left Minnesota and joined the Atlanta Falcons. And of course, Aaron Rodgers, we mentioned already, returning from injury for the Jets. So those were big storylines. And so far have looked pretty good. The Falcons are 1-2 with Kirk, and the Jets are 2-1 with Aaron Rodgers, and just came off a big win, blowing out the Patriots in Thursday Night Football. Shocking. We love to see it. I don't know the last time that we've seen the Jets blow out the Patriots. Has it ever happened? So it feels good. Feels really good. And the last thing I'll say is that there were 8 new head coaches, which is crazy. A lot of head coach changes in the offseason. But the biggest one was Jim Harbaugh going to the LA Chargers. He just won, the national title with Michigan, former 49ers head coach, and now he's back in the NFL. So hopefully, the Chargers do well. They're off to an interesting start. Herbert's been kind of hurt, but I'm hopeful. I've kind of adopted the Chargers since I moved to LA, so let's see. They're kind of like the Jets, sadly, but we hope for the best. I think Harbaugh's going to bring a good change of energy.
Definitely. Yeah, mm-hmm. Lots of changes happening in the NFL. Yes. Okay, Hard Knocks. Let's get into it. So, you convinced me to watch, talking about Simone Biles, being like, you'll see her, you'll see Simone. And we did. We saw a good amount of her. It was really cool.
She was in it quite a bit.
Yeah, she was featured quite heavily. Mr. Simone Biles. And we've talked about Jonathan Owens on this podcast several times before, and how he's been quite clownish in the past, being like, I didn't even know who Simone Biles was until I met her. Like, I didn't even know she was a gymnast. I had no idea who she was. And it's like, what? Like, why were you saying that? like no one, literally, I had no idea who he was. I had no idea I didn't even remember his name until like earlier this year. Like I just knew him as Simone Biles' husband who's problematic. He also was like, oh yeah, I'm the catch in the relationship. Like I'm a football player. I'm the catch, not her. Like he was saying the most wild things last year. And people were like, what is wrong with this guy? But that's her man. She loves him.
She's happy.
They seem happy. So, we're just going to let Simone be.
Mm-hmm.
And he changed his tune real quick at the Olympics this year. They showed him, they love showing the footage, being like, yeah, in the audience during the Hard Knocks season, and him telling all the guys on the field, being like, yeah, like, she did this, she's the most decorated gymnast of all time. Like, I think he learned his lesson, and was like, yeah, Simone Biles is, like, way more famous than I will ever be.
Streaming.
Way more talented and impressive than you will ever be. Like, come correct, sir. So, he seemed to humble himself a lot more. At least on camera. I mean, maybe he was just, there were cameras on him and he knew that he needed to fix his reputation. So that could have also been it, that he was being extra supportive. Mm-hmm. I loved seeing Simone Biles on my screen. I did. And I loved the moment when they were like, why are you wearing the Green Bay shirt? Like, you're in Chicago. I thought that was really funny. And Twitter went wild.
My husband's shirt or jacket. Does it not matter? It's like, girl, she doesn't play for him anymore. And Chicago and Green Bay hate each other. Like, you could tell, like, Simone probably doesn't know that much about football because those franchises are not friends.
She's too busy winning gold medals. Sorry.
Literally. It's like if our husband used to play for the Patriots and now he plays in the Jets and you wear, like, a Patriots jersey. They'd be like, what are you doing?
So funny. What other cameos did you enjoy?
I thought it was cool how they had, like, some big names, like Nick Saban, right, the former Alabama head coach who's since retired, who coached Matt Eberflus. I thought that was really cool. And then you had Matt Ryan, the former Atlanta Falcons quarterback, who was at Boston College with Ryan Poles, the GM. Like, it showed how clearly, like, football's kind of a small world. Like, a lot of the players, coaches, GMs, like, they're all connected. A lot of them have played together. So I thought that was, like, a cool kind of inside baseball thing. A big highlight for me was when Cole Kmet and Austin Reed were talking about Love Island.
Oh, yeah. Loved it. Loved it.
When worlds collide, you wouldn't think that Love Island USA would get mentioned on Hard Knocks, but it was.
Yeah. And Austin Reed, he was so cute. He was definitely a highlight. And he was like, yeah, like Rob and Leah, like we're obsessed with them. Very funny. Very funny.
I know, he was sweet. I'd say something else I liked was seeing the families. That's always cool about Hard Knocks, right? You learn more about the players, the coaches, the GM, all the personnel, but also you see their families, especially of the main stars. So you got to see DJ Moore, who's like a wide receiver that they got from the Panthers in a trade last year. And he's like, I would say one of the more high profile wide receivers on their team. And his daughter, Raven, was so cute.
I know.
She had so much personality. I loved it.
Loved his little family. And they went to the Museum of Ice Cream, right? Very cute.
Did you have any like other highlights? Fun moment?
I know you and I both noticed it. And we've talked about how in the NFL and a lot of sports, it's run by, old white men a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. But it was really cool to see, like, the diverse management and coaching staff, right? Black president, black GM, black defensive coordinator. I was like, what?
I was like, the Chicago Bears, the Black Bears.
I know. I was like, the Black Bears? Like, I was also very taken aback watching. I'm like, wait, everyone is black. Like,
never see that.
Black quarterback, too? Like, what's going on?
Great. Shocking, but really great. When we were growing up, they had like Lovie Smith, who was like a very popular black coach. So I remember that. Like, oh, it's great because you rarely see black head coaches. Now it's getting, thank goodness, like more common. But like 10, 15 years ago, it was like crazy to have someone like Lovie Smith. Like, I think it was just like him and Tony Dungy at the time as black head coaches in the league, which is nuts.
Yeah. And Tomlinson, I feel like he was only one for a while.
Mike Tomlin, yeah.
Mike Tomlin. Yes.
Not LaDainian Tomlinson.
No. Wrong guy.
But But I mean, I'd say like one kind of like low light, and it's always sad to see players get hurt, like Ian Wheeler, the player from Howard, who like wanted to go to med school. Brutal that in the last like preseason game, or one of the last ones, he tears his ACL.
Devastating.
Oh, I would say injuries are like my least favorite part of any like sport, but particularly football, because football's so rough. I'm like, oh. I will say he had a really good perspective on it, right? And he was talking about his faith and how, you know, everything happens for a reason. Really good way to look at it, given your kind of hopes and dreams just ended for now.
When he hugged his mom at the end, that like 2-minute hug, oh, that was so emotional. Also watching him, I'm like, go to med school. Like, that's what I kept on thinking. I was like, why are you trying to make it like this is what happens? You're gonna tear your ACL. Like, this is what happens if you're in the NFL. Right? I literally thought that. I was like, boy, this is God being like, do not play in the NFL. Go to med school. That's what I was like, go to med school.
I don't know if you remember the scene when Ryan Poles was talking about how like he got injured in like one of his like first games or like preseason snaps, and then was like, oh, my career's over. I'm gonna now move into like management.
Right.
Like a lot of these guys, like injuries derail their careers, and it's like instead of trying to play again, sometimes you can't play again. You don't have a choice. It's like, well, what's my other option?
I know. Go to med school. I kept on thinking that the whole time. I was like, why are you trying to play in the NFL? I understand it's your dream, but it's like, being a doctor, be a doctor. Please.
We need more black male doctors, that's for sure.
Howard graduate. I literally kept on thinking, please, we do not need any more black men.
Running backs.
Football playing running backs. Oh my gosh. So shout out Ian Wheeler. You were great on the show. Please go be a doctor. In the first few weeks, injuries have just derailed everyone, especially our fantasy teams. How has fantasy football been for you so far, Shelby?
Yes, we have to talk about fantasy a little bit, right? This is a football episode. And this is the 5th year of our family fantasy league, which is insane. Can't believe it's been that long already. Yeah. Laura won last year, shockingly.
Shockingly? I was not shocked that I won.
I think everyone thought Mom was going to win. But, hey, you won fair and square.
Yes, I did.
And this season, you know, our mom had the first pick, and she chose Christian McCaffrey, who has not played a game. So it just shows you how.
Run CMC.
I can't. It just shows you how fantasy has gone for a lot of people. Brutal.
Yeah, who have you lost from fantasy due to injuries?
Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Jordan Love.
Danger.
My backup tight end on Cleveland, like, you know, a lot of my team. It's just one of those things where I don't even know. I'd be shocked if you don't have someone injured on your team at this point. There was a tweet or like meme going around last week that was like a guy's fantasy team that literally had like
no one was eligible. No one could play. It was very
like,
funny.
The whole weekend, even his kicker, Graham Gano, on the Giants got hurt. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
Brutal. You can't make it up.
You can't. For my team, AJ Brown, notably not playing on the Eagles right now. Kenneth Walker on the Seahawks. He had a great first week. He's out. And Keenan Allen, also out.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's everyone's teams are suffering. It feels like way more than usual, right?
Way more.
Why do you think that happens? Like maybe preseason wasn't enough, or maybe their bodies are just breaking down, and maybe football's just gonna implode and not become a professional sport because everyone's just getting injured all the time. Maybe
there was one less preseason game, so maybe that's it. Like they didn't have enough reps. Not everyone plays in preseason. But honestly, I just think it's like a rough game. It's a lot for your body to take hits. Like we talk about how it's hard to do sometimes intense Pilates classes. So imagine if you're like getting hit with pads multiple times a week. No, thank you.
I know. So we just think maybe their bodies are being worn so much, and maybe football is just not sustainable, and
it's not.
We're going to need new players every like 2 years. The
average career is like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
So it's not sustainable. You gotta make your money and save it, people. Even though there have been a lot of injuries, I am currently 3-0 in our fantasy league.
Look at you.
The only one who's undefeated.
Yes.
So I'm off to a strong start, which is exciting. Laura and I did face off in week 1, and I won. I have a good feeling about this season, so we'll see. It's early.
Right, don't speak too soon.
I already have injuries, like we've said, but I'm feeling good.
We'll see.
Woo!
Yeah. And speaking of the start of the season, what have been the ups and the downs, the storyline so far?
Yeah, so for the 2024 NFL season, we're about 3 weeks in. I'd say it started off with a bang, but like bad bangs. And by that,
Yes.
I mean literally the first Sunday, Tyreek Hill was like detained by a police officer on his way to his game. Like, really bad way for the season to start. Did you watch the videos, Laura?
No, I haven't watched it. I'm like,
You probably don't want to.
I don't need to. I've seen plenty of videos of black men getting beat to the ground. Please. I'm good.
Can't.
I'm good.
Yeah, it was rough. And it just felt like, of course, police on a power trip. And Tyreek being, right, a very popular football player in Miami where he plays, thinking like, why would I get pulled over? Like he thought he was above it. But no, to them, you're just a black man. And they don't care if you are a superstar athlete making millions of dollars playing for the team they support.
Yeah, they're probably rooting you on
So
every
bad.
Sunday, drinking beers, but
really bad.
Whatever.
All these people driving by, literally on their way to the game, like, what's going on? So you had fans stopping, players stopping, and they like threatened to arrest players. They were cuffing them. They like pushed Tyreek to the ground. It was like, I think, a harsh reminder just how hard it is to be black in America. Not that we needed another reminder.
Yeah, I know well enough.
So yeah, that's how the NFL season started. And speaking of bad news stories, there was like another Deshaun Watson accuser that came out too. Someone else saying that he got inappropriate during massage. And I'm just like, I can't. It's too much.
How is this man playing
How
in
is
the
he
NFL?
playing in the NFL? How many women need to come out about being assaulted during massage?
Infinite. It's never gonna stop
is
them.
not mathing.
So is it that he is getting a massage and then he is like trying to force himself on these women? Like, is that what's happening?
And he's like being inappropriate. Like he's getting naked and being like, touch this or look at this. Like he's doing very uncomfortable things when women are just supposed to be giving him a massage. Like making it sexual.
That's
big
really bad.
Yikes. I know.
Okay.
And he's the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Making like $200+ million.
Send help.
I don't know what to say about that. The Browns should be embarrassed. If it doesn't get any worse, Tua Tagovailoa got his 3rd concussion on Thursday Night Football against the Bills. And if you don't know his history, 2 years ago, he got 2 really bad concussions in like back-to-back games. And then he had like the reaction, I forgot what it's called, where your like hands get all messed up and just, it was literally happened again. And everyone was talking about whether or not he should retire. So the Dolphins put him on IR and just showing like how rough football can be,
Yeah. Not sustainable.
This poor guy, like getting brain damage.
It's CTE.
Ugh.
Like, and he's how old? Like, how old is he?
25? 27? Oh.
I know. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, it'd be so fun to like date a football player. That sounds like my worst nightmare. Dating someone in the NFL.
No.
I want nothing to do with it.
Not the solution.
Nothing to do with it. Just keep them away from me, please. Please.
Not for me.
Oh my gosh. A football wife? No.
No. Not only are their bodies being put in harm's way, but they can be traded at a dime, which means you have to move your family to a new place. Like, that just is hard to actually, like, when you think about it, the practicality of it, every time your husband gets traded, you have to, like, move to a new city. Find a new school, find a new house.
Yeah, it's horrible.
No thanks. So there have been a lot of bad news stories, but there also have been a lot of upsets. A lot of teams surprisingly started 0-2, like the Ravens, Bengals, and Rams. 3 teams that looked really good last year. It's like, make it make sense. Particularly the Ravens. They were like in the AFC Championship game last year, and they're starting 0-2. What's going on? Dallas has also looked really clownish. The Saints blew them out last week in Dallas, and then the Ravens beat them in Dallas this week. It like doesn't make sense. And then another upset, the Eagles lost a heartbreaker on Monday Night Football to the Falcons last week. It is like really confusing. And you also just have like bad teams beating good teams. Like, I can't keep up. Like, you had the Giants beat the Browns today. The Giants hadn't lost the game. They looked like clowns. I'm like, does that mean the Browns are bad? Are the Giants better than we thought? The Panthers went into Oakland, beat the Raiders today. Are the Panthers better than we think? Or is it just because they benched Bryce Young for Andy Dalton? Like, there's just a lot of moving parts. And it makes me feel like there's a lot more parity in the NFL this year. So it's hard to know who's actually good. Are the bad teams actually bad? Are the good teams actually good? The other thing I'll mention about the start of the season is that there are some surprising undefeated teams, which I think goes to my, like, who's really good. Like the Vikings, Steelers, and Seahawks are all 3-0. The Vikings with Sam Darnold, the Steelers with Justin Field and Russell Wilson in the wings ready to play. Like, I just don't really get it. It doesn't make sense. Like, all the teams we thought would be really good aren't really playing that well. Like, the San Francisco 49ers are 1-2, Laura.
Yikes. Look at my hat.
Yikes, I know. I'm sure the whole city of SF is not happy. But, of course, the Chiefs are somehow 3-0. So,
boo.
Through it all, they find a way. Especially, I feel like the refs are on their side. It's giving, like, Patriots 2.0.
I mean, I've been saying this for years. They're the new Patriots. Brutal. Yeah.
You hate it.
It's a conspiracy to get Taylor Swift to the Super Bowl again.
Literally.
Increase viewership.
That's all it is. They've literally had these close one-score games against the Ravens, Bengals, and Falcons where they don't even look that good. Mahomes is throwing interceptions. Like, Kelce's barely catching balls. I know, because he's on my fantasy team. And he's gotten, like, less than 5 points every time. They're not even playing that well, and somehow they're winning. It's actually, like, disgusting. Yeah. And the Falcons win today was, like, the cherry on top. I can't.
On to our category, Shelby. Who or what do you love to hate?
I'm gonna say Kendrick Lamar headlining the Super Bowl.
Heyo.
That was announced recently.
They're not like, I see dead people.
I got excited initially, but then, Laura, have you heard about all this drama?
I've heard a little bit of it, and tell us.
So basically, people thought since the Super Bowl is going to be in New Orleans that they should pick a New Orleans act like Lil Wayne. Mm-hmm. And then Lil Wayne came out being devastated that he wasn't picked. And all these Young Money rappers like Nicki Minaj were saying it was only because Jay-Z hates Young Money, hates Lil Wayne, has a vendetta against Drake, and is picking Kendrick Lamar. So all this stuff. And I'm literally Black Twitter and rappers went off saying that it should have been Lil Wayne because he's like the biggest artist from New Orleans. People were making it seem like a conspiracy by Jay-Z because he doesn't like Young Money.
Yes, I heard some of this. A friend of mine was like, oh yeah, Kendrick Lamar the Super Bowl. They're like, oh my gosh, did you hear about the drama? I was like, what are you talking about?
A lot of drama.
And she was like, oh yeah, like Jay-Z picks a halftime performer. I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean Jay-Z picks a halftime performer? But apparently, now that Apple Music sponsors, right, the Super Bowl, it's no longer Pepsi. Like, Jay-Z gets the final say on who performs at the Super Bowl. Why? Who? I don't understand why. But this is what I was told. And then, yes, and they were like, well, Lil Wayne doesn't like well, Jay-Z doesn't like Lil Wayne, so that's why he didn't pick Lil Wayne, and he chose Kendrick Lamar to get back at Drake and Young Money. I was like, what? But also, Kendrick Lamar is like one of the biggest artists of the year.
He's having a moment.
He's having a moment.
Good for him. Like, he has one of the most popular songs of the year. Really bad for Drake. Like, not a good look.
Nail in Drake's coffin.
Kendrick clearly won.
Has Lil Wayne put out music since 2009? Like, I honestly haven't. The last song I know by Lil Wayne is Uproar. Da 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 da. 5, 4, 3, 2, other one, go. Like, that was maybe 10 years ago. That was like in the mid 2010s. So I'm just like, why would, besides him being from New Orleans, I'm like, he hasn't done anything. Apparently he's touring right now. Who's going to his tour? I personally don't know anyone.
Apparently, I forgot who it was, but someone who maybe like worked with Rock Nation or the Super Bowl or Apple Music said that Drake had been offered the Super Bowl twice before and declined it. So it's like Drake didn't even like want to do it.
Right,
so it's just all this drama.
Like, who's dissing Drake? Like, you don't want to do the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Literally, he didn't want to do it. So there's all this stuff going on. And I just hope we all come together and celebrate the blackness that will be the Super Bowl next year.
Oh, yeah. I think everyone's going to
hopefully we'll be over the drama.
That Kendrick Lamar is going to be doing it. Mm-hmm. But he already did, the LA one. So it'll be interesting to see.
But I think that's why people are like, oh, it should be someone from New Orleans. But that doesn't always happen. Like, the LA one felt like the only Super Bowl where they tried to make it about LA because it was the 50th anniversary of hip hop and stuff. Besides that, I feel like the Super Bowl normally is just whoever's the popular artist.
Yeah. I will say with Vegas, like, Usher felt like a specific choice because he's like the king of Vegas right now. So I think
a residency.
Yes,
the last few, I guess they've been a bit more personal and like strategic.
Yeah. But usually, that's not the case. I just think Usher this year felt very specific, like Vegas, king of Vegas right now. So. Yeah. Of course, we hate to hate injuries. Bad for the families, bad for the players, and most of all, bad for our fantasy teams. Justice for fantasy football this year.
Probably the worst year I think fantasy's had in terms of injuries.
Yes, 100%.
Really rough.
What'd you love to love?
I thought it was hilarious. I think it was a few weeks ago watching a Bears game, and the commentator said, "Mr. Simone Biles with like an interception or fumble recovery." And I screamed. Calling Jonathan Owens Mr. Simone Biles on national television is amazing.
He should only be referred to that. He doesn't... That should be on the back of his jersey. Because she is the catch in the relationship, and he is a nobody. So, yes, Mr. Simone Biles.
I thought that was so funny. And then I also love Jason Kelce, the former Eagle offensive lineman, is now a part of the Monday Night Football crew, and he's actually really good. I watched the last 2 Monday Night Footballs, and I think he's funny. He was giving good commentary, and I personally think he's like has more personality than Travis. Maybe that's a hot take.
Oh, that might be a hot take. It is so funny now that Travis is a celebrity. Jason and his wife are now celebrities, like immediately. And someone was like, oh, they're so cute. I really like Jason and Kylie. And apparently they met on Tinder. Someone told me that. I was like,
I think they actually have an interesting story.
People are like obsessed with them. I don't follow the Kelceys at all. So I don't know much about him.
I just see them on commercials all the time. And and now I'm in football with Jason. Yes. But I think he's doing good. Like, I feel like the Kelceys are kind of getting hate for like just being around all the time. And getting so that like 100 million podcast deal. But Jason's actually good. I think he's a good, for TV. So I'll give him that.
Yes. Okay, ready for red flag, green flag, 1, 2, 3?
Yes. Okay, Laura. Is it a red flag to tell your husband how to wear his facial hair? Like Kelly Eberflus told her husband Matt Eberflus.
Not at all. It's men need direction. Happy wife, happy life. So if you like the beard, tell him how to groom. Mm-hmm. He needs direction. So I love it. I love that point. I loved him and his wife, his daughters. I thought they were great.
And he looks a lot better with the beard.
He does.
Like,
he does.
She knew.
Women always
We
know.
always
Listen to us. Listen to us. Okay, Shelby. Is it a green flag to crown someone as the savior of your franchise?
No.
Oh.
I think it's too much pressure.
Mm.
Before Caleb Williams even started on the Chicago Bears, people thought he was going to save the franchise. And he's already had a bit of a rocky start to the season. The Bears look okay. Caleb has thrown a couple picks. I think he got his first touchdown. There's some growing pains. But because there's so much pressure, people are already saying, oh, is he a bust? Should the Bears have given up on Justin Fields? Should they have kept all this stuff is already happening? And it's well, if you hadn't put so much pressure that this guy was going to come in and just save your offense and save your team, maybe you wouldn't be as hard on him, or maybe you wouldn't have as high as expectations. So I think it's a red flag. No one should have much pressure. And it's also not on one player. Yes, if you draft the next Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, that's huge for your franchise. But you also need to have the right coach. You need to have the right offensive line, the right defense. There's so many factors that go into it.
I agree. On Hard Knocks, a huge part of it was Caleb Williams interacting with fans, and he went on a podcast and they were like, you're going to save Chicago, right? Yes. I can imagine he's probably oh my gosh,
it's a lot. Yeah, so even for him.
Pressure. Yeah.
And he said he doesn't get nervous, but I'm like, who doesn't get nervous? Come on.
A whole city's relying on you? It's a lot. It's a lot.
Pressure.
All right. Was Hard Knocks a wait or watch, Shelby?
I think it's a watch. First of all, it's only 4 or 5 episodes. We love that. Yeah. It's not
it was short.
A lot to see. So definitely recommend Hard Knocks Chicago Bears. If anything, for the star-studded appearances. Seeing Simone was great.
No, honestly, that's what you told me to get watching, and I love seeing
it delivered,
her.
Right?
It delivered. They showed a lot of Simone Biles.
They did, as they should.
Correctly.
And honestly, the NFL season is already off the rails.
Oh, yeah.
Chaotic, injury-ridden, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, y'all, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Messy
yeah.
mess.
I think it wasn't as good as the Jets Hard Knocks.
I agree with that.
Right? So I'm thinking about that because that was my first time ever watching Hard Knocks last year. And I watched a bit of the Miami one during the season this past year. So if you're into football, yeah, watch it. If not, you're not missing out on anything. Whereas I felt if you didn't watch the Jets Hard Knocks, I felt like you were missing out on something.
That's fair. So now for our What to Watch segment. Of course, the rest of the NFL season, people, you have Thursday Night Football every week on Amazon. You have the Sunday afternoon slate on CBS and Fox. You have Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock.
Are they still playing the Carrie Underwood theme song?
It's slightly different, but it's still Carrie.
Okay. That's what I care about. Yeah.
They have Monday Night Football on ESPN, which has a theme song with Snoop Dogg, and who's the guy that sings Tennessee Whiskey?
Chris Stapleton? Interesting.
Very bizarre. I don't know how they thought of combining them together, but it's interesting. And they're going to be Christmas Day games on Netflix, which is kind of crazy. I know.
What are you telling me, Shelby? Netflix is having NFL games?
I know. It was announced a few months ago, and it's a big deal because they said, oh, we're never going to have sports. We're not into that. And of course, now they see the value of having.
They said they never do sports. Ads, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Classic.
NFL on Netflix. Huh.
I know. So we'll see. It's changing of the guard. It's a big deal to have it on streaming. People were complaining when games were only on Peacock. So just wait. When games are only on Netflix, they're going to lose their minds.
And did you see the game that was in Brazil?
Yes, I did. I caught the end of it because I had plans. But no, yeah, it was on Peacock. It was kind of a crazy game between the Packers and the Eagles. But, Peacock, I think, does a good job. With the Olympics, I feel like they have it down. It's kind of, I don't mind watching stuff on there.
And there's a new Hard Knocks coming out?
Yes. So similar to last year with the Dolphins, there's going to be a Hard Knocks in season with the AFC North. So an entire division. And I'm like curious how that's going to be.
Logistics?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Okay.
How are you going to fit it into one episode each week? It's going to be on the division that has the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns, and the Cincinnati Bengals. All franchises that are like good and like messy, with Deshaun Watson on the Browns, Joe Burrow and his blonde hair on the Bengals. You have Lamar playing up and down with the Ravens. And then the Steelers, who are 3-0. But they have the whole, like, are they going to stay with Justin Fields? Will they play Russell Wilson? Like, very meaty teams to have. So I'm curious how that's going to be. And that's debuting on Tuesday, December 3rd at 9 p.m. on HBO.
Oh.
And of course, the Super Bowl in New Orleans on February 9th. Trying to manifest that we'll be there.
Yes.
Woo-hoo!
Speak it into existence. Invite us. We'll do commentary. We'll chit-chat to all the players. Please. Shelby, who are your picks for the Super Bowl?
So, if you just go based on the 3-0 teams, you'd be like, oh, Vikings versus the Chiefs. But that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not going to pick the Vikings or the Steelers. No. Like, I am just going to go based on the teams that I think will get it together and the teams that have shown some promise. It's hard to even say this, but I think the Jets could make the Super Bowl.
Please, no. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl.
Like,
no,
seeing them play the Patriots on Thursday night, I was like, wow, it looks like they're actually like getting it together. I feel like my brain is telling me pick the Chiefs, but I can't.
No.
I won't.
No.
So instead of the Chiefs, I think the teams that have looked the best are either the Bills or the Jets. And I'm going to go with the Jets, our homer pick, to represent the AFC because they look good. And as much as I hate Aaron Rodgers, if he could bring the Jets to the Super Bowl, I would have to give him a little credit. Wouldn't like him, have to give him a little credit, though.
And I have such doubt in the Jets. They're going to mess it up. We're a cursed franchise. I would be really surprised if we made it all the way to the Super Bowl.
So I think it's a bit of the homer pick in me. But I'm going to say the Jets from the AFC. And then the NFC, to be honest, no one's really looking good. Everyone would think the Niners, they have a lot of injuries. They're not looking great.
Yeah.
Even Detroit has had some, like, iffy moments. I'm going to pick the Eagles. They shouldn't have lost that Atlanta game. And Nick Sirianni, the head coach, has had very iffy decisions. When you look at their team and when they actually run the ball with Saquon Barkley, they have, like, really good players and talent. And so that's what I feel with the Jets, too. I think both the Jets and the Eagles are hindered by coaching decisions. Mm-hmm. But they have so much talent on their rosters. If they can just get it together and get out of their own way, I think we could have an Eagles-Jets Super Bowl. Green on green. Can you believe it? Those are my picks.
That would be really wild. We'll see. I'm a bit doubtful. Okay. Interesting. Last year I picked the Niners and the Bills, I think. And
you were right on the Niners.
Right? Not bad. Part of me just wants to pick the Niners again, but I'll pick someone else.
No, pick your heart's desire.
No, I will pick the Eagles.
Copying me.
I mean, the Eagles are good. Saquon is having a ball. Like, I think if he keeps on doing right, half their roster they're out of their top 2 wide receivers, right? And like the fact that they're still doing this well, Saquon is stepping up. Dallas Goedert is like doing great. If the Eagles can still win right now, like, once they get healthy, they could definitely go all the way. And plus, we love Jalen Hurts, as always.
Jalen Hurts stands.
It's not hard to root for him. And I'm going to say, maybe Pittsburgh will be there. I'm gonna make that.
Okay, let's go. Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin.
Let's
come on, Black people. The Steelers are my defense in fantasy, so they've been holding me down.
So I'm gonna say Eagles Steelers. Let's go. Black quarterbacks. Real black quarterbacks. Yikes.
The footnote.
Asterisk. Yikes.
Well, it's crazy because I think before the season, everyone was like Niners or Chiefs or Detroit or the Houston Texans. But honestly, everyone's been looking kind of shaky. So we're going off of talent.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. What are your picks, y'all? Let us know. Comment on
Sound
Spotify. Sound off. DM us. Who are your picks for Super Bowl? And if you enjoyed this episode of Sisters Who Watch, if you like women in sports,
Sporty girls, yeah,
and sporty spice, please make sure you're giving Sisters Who Watch 5 stars. 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Go follow us on all of our social medias, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can support us by buying our merch on our website. And we have listener support on Spotify as well. And you can Zelle us.
Yes, we really want to hear from y'all, so please comment on Spotify, YouTube, our social media posts. You can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. We're grateful for your support.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Stay watching.
Stay watching.